welcome to another episode of Cinematic Heartland. We have something very special this evening, don't we, Mike?
Yes, we do.
Well, first of all, me and Mike are in the same room, which is a first for this show.
And we're actually touching each other.
Well, in safe spots.
Do you have a safe word?
We're getting off to a great start here. Okay, so this evening we have our first roundtable, and we hope to have more of these in the future. And tonight we're discussing film festivals. And so we have four illustrious guests with us this evening. We have Eric Dean Freese. Did I pronounce Freese right?
Funny thing,
I'm going to guess
enough.
not.
It's actually pronounced Freese. It's the
Crazy.
Old Norse German. It rhymes with crazy or lazy or daisy. Take your pick.
Okay, all right. I was going to say Frise, but
oh, hey, I like that.
That'd be French.
Yeah, that'd be French.
Yeah, no.
That's kind of high end.
All through college it was Freese, and I told my grandfather that at one point, and he's like, your name's Frazee, and I'm like, okay, fine. All right. That makes sense.
Okay, Grant.
Well, Eric's from the Cedar Rapids Independent Film Festival.
Yep.
And we have Bill Cooper. I know how to pronounce your name there, so
Nice and easy.
I'm horrible at names on here. I mean, the listening audience knows that. I destroyed a couple last week. So anyway, Bill Cooper from Twin Cities Film Festival. We have Gale from the Flatwater Film Festival. And Tad Good from Snake Alley Festival of Film.
Nice.
So welcome, everybody, to this
Glad to be here.
roundtable discussion here.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So let's start off. Why don't we go around the room, and why don't you tell us a little bit about your festival, where it's based, and give us your name so the listening audience can kind of put your voice to your name there.
Let's start with Eric.
All right, sure. So, yeah, I'm Eric Dean Frazee. I'm with the Cedar Rapids Independent Film Festival. We're actually based out of the Collins Road Theaters in Marion, Iowa, which, if you're not familiar with kind of the eastern Iowa area, it's the adjoining town. Essentially, the theater sits on the border between the two cities. But the Cedar Rapids Independent Film Festival, or CRIF, as it's kind of familiarly referred to, is it's in its 20th year. The first festival was actually in 2001. There were a couple of years missed due to various things as well as COVID. But yeah, this is our 20th year. We are one of the few festivals that highlights only films that have Iowa connections. So Iowa-based filmmakers as well as filmmakers who have connections to the state either through education, or they grew up here, or they worked here for a time and moved away. So yeah, that's kind of our niche is celebrating filmmakers who have an Iowa connection, but filmmakers who are virtually anywhere. We've had submissions from around the globe. It's amazing how many Iowa filmmakers are just spread throughout the industry worldwide. So yeah, that's kind of us in a nutshell. We're coming up Monday. I guess this podcast will probably air after our call for entries is finished, but our call for entries is up. The last day is Monday, February 13th, and we've had a pretty good slate of films entered thus far, and we expect we'll probably get a few more. And yeah, so we're kind of heavy into the finishing up of the call for entries, and then it'll be on to judging and getting the festival ready for screening.
So when they're listening to this, if they haven't gotten it in yet, tough luck. There's
Too
always
late.
next year.
How many days is your festival?
It's 3 days this year.
Okay.
Usually, in the past, it's been 2 days, a Friday and a Saturday. But we added something special this year. We're adding Student Cinema Sunday.
Ooh.
And our festival does 2 screenings of every film. That's always been the rule.
Yeah.
And this year, to be able to spread things out a little bit more, to add more Q&A opportunities, and just to give a little more breathing room between the films, we decided we wanted to expand into Sunday. And at the same time, we had heard rumblings that students wanted a better experience. They didn't want to be lost in the shuffle of the professional and the hobbyist filmmakers. So we thought, okay, let's take those students' second screening and give them Sunday, and then give them the VIP red carpet Hollywood treatment on Sunday just for them. So that's what we're doing on Student Cinema Sunday. Student entry or student admission fees are going to be lower. We're doing a students only audience choice award. So it's great to prop up the student filmmakers, to celebrate the student filmmakers, and help them grow. We've always been really interested in having student filmmakers and just watching how they evolve into hobbyists or professionals.
Kind of give them an incentive too. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Very cool,
so
Bill.
That's us.
Cool, Bill.
You want me to go next? Fantastic.
Sure.
I just have to say, Eric.
My method of madness is we're at the top left of the screen that we see.
I can't tell which
Eric,
order.
Bill,
That's okay. We'll do it.
Greg and
hey,
Ted,
Eric, greetings to everyone in Cedar Rapids. I have fond memories of shooting a film there 2 summers ago. We screened at the Collins Theater, our 4 cast and crew screenings, and so good
Bill,
luck with,
jeez,
good
I'm
luck
like,
with your
why do
festival.
I recognize you? And I just realized now who you are.
Yeah, Charcoal Skies, it's the way it goes, distributed worldwide on the 17th of January. But my role here today is, well, thank you. My role here is, congratulations to basically, 80% of the film was all Iowa-based, so we were really pleased to do a cross-border sort of hybrid of what we were working on, and we premiered it at the Julian Film Festival and stuff, so it was great. I'm representing the Twin Cities Film Fest. We have been around, this is our 14th year. I've been involved 2 more years in that because I'm one of the founders of it, managing director of it. We actually are a year-round organization, so we have 4 full-time people. We do exhibition, production, education, and distribution. So we're pretty robust kind of organization. We consider ourselves the biggest American independent film organization in the North. Our main festival, however, is 10 days, 9 or 10 days in October, late October. We usually end around Halloween, so we love the horror films as well. We do specialize in American independent films. It is we don't show international films at all. There's another international festival in the Twin Cities that has done a great job. It's been around for 40 years. So we focus on American independent films. We show about 100 to 120 films a year, both features and shorts. About a third of all our films have either a Minnesota or Midwest connection. We started out sort of Minnesota, but we also realized full well that we bring up films from Iowa or North and South Dakota, Wisconsin. That's important, really important to us as well. So that's basically our festival.
Very cool. All right, Greg, you're up.
All right. So I am Greg Gale. I am one of the creators and originating founders, is the word I was looking for, of the Flatwater Film Festival. We are, compared to the other 2 I've heard so far, in our infancy. We're going into our 3rd year. We hail out of Seward, Nebraska, little small town just west of Lincoln. We are essentially very similar to the other 2 festivals. We are a celebration of films made in Nebraska or by people who are from Nebraska. So there has to be a Nebraska affiliation for you to submit and be accepted into our films. But we are a non-competitive showcase, and we chose to do that very similar. We want to encourage filmmakers, whether you are a veteran or you are making your very first film and trying to figure out all the ins and outs and why you want to get into this industry. We want to give you that opportunity to see your work on the big screen, and we felt like the best way to be able to do that is to not have any awards, any competition. We just want you to show up. We want you to see your film. We want you to see what other people are doing. We also want you to network with those people, so that way those very first filmmakers can meet up with those veterans and say, hey, how did you do this? Or what equipment are you using? Or how do I better what I've been doing? And just a big collaboration of filmmakers here from Nebraska, just helping themselves out and networking. And last year we implemented a brand new feature of panels, and we did a director's roundtable on a Saturday, and we also had little micro education sessions of learning about music in films, why that's important, or lighting. I'm trying to think of what the other ones were. I can't think of what the other ones were. So those were 2 of the big ones. But that was a huge hit, and so we're slowly growing and trying to establish ourselves as a film festival that it's a great opportunity for filmmakers in Nebraska. We do 3 days. We are 3 days in October. And I think that's our film festival.
Okay. All right, Tad.
All right, well, I'm Tad Good. I am the director of the Snake Alley Festival of Film. We are going into our 11th year, so last year was our big 10th anniversary. I've been the director for the last 7, I believe, years. I took over for founder Lonnie Schuyler. We host our theater at our festival at the beautiful Capitol Theater here in Burlington, Iowa. We feature short films and short screenplays, so we anything 35 minutes and below, and we do short screenplay table reads every year. That's one of the unique parts of our festival is the finalists each year get all the roles in their short screenplay cast, and we read them live on stage so that the writers and audience can actually see the screenplays come to life in front of them. That's a lot of fun, and yeah, we've done a few features here and there if we have a guest coming, or if we find something that sort of fits our aesthetic for the festival, we'll run a feature, but mostly short films. We've been a 4-day festival for the last, I think, 5 years. There was once a 5-day festival, and I think that's what convinced Lonnie to quit and hand it to me, was running it for 5 days. So when I took over, I took it down to 3, and then we found we were just getting too much good content to keep it at 3. So we're Thursday through Sunday, and we're sort of in the right now in the stages of mixing things up a little bit, adding some new people to our group, trying to, after our first 10 years, trying to get some fresh eyes and fresh ears and younger people into our group, to because we're only a group of 4 that do all the work and planning, and I need some help with that. So we're bringing in some new people and hoping some fresh people in our group will help refresh the festival. So
I forgot to mention that we actually have an online element as well. Do any of you others guys do any online screenings?
Not yet. We've talked about it a lot, and we were actually born in 2020, and clearly that didn't happen.
Oh, sure.
So we've been talking about it and trying to decide if we want to do that, and we wanted to start from the very basis, and this is how we run a festival. Okay, now we know how to run a festival. What can we add to that, and then continually growing? So it's on our radar, but I don't think we're going to do it this year. I don't know about next year.
Little steps. Sometimes little steps is best.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of curious. I don't know if I'm stepping on anyone's toes here, but Bill, I'm kind of curious. How do you deal with, because that's something we've talked about too, how do you deal with permissions and security and whatnot when you're doing it online?
Well, there's quite a few things to think of. Obviously, the online nature of film festivals has evolved a lot since COVID. We all took 2 years basically off, or, we literally went to no films and went all online and stuff. It actually is a very different process for both the festival and the filmmakers. So let me just start from a filmmaker's perspective, because I think it relates. I think a lot of filmmakers embrace it because it allows their content to potentially reach a wider audience. If you have something, your family can't come to the movie and they live in another state, they can catch it online. And I think all of that is really a positive thing, especially if you can, work on a platform that allows you to geofence it, or, limit it to the number of downloads or number of streaming kind of stuff. But there are a lot of other filmmakers who during that time were like, hey, I only want my film if I can come and things. And so, we invited some films and they decided not to be part of the festival when we did have it online. But quite frankly, we literally, the first year we put it online, we had people from 40 states view our movies. Well, people from 40 states don't come to our festival, And so from our perspective, it became an important addendum to it. And one of you other folks talked about always playing 2 of every film. Now, what we typically do is play 1 in the theater and then have a second screening potentially available online for people who can't make it and stuff. We also show a few studio films, and they obviously don't let us go online. From a festival standpoint, we have our own platform. It turned out we had a organization at the time that did our social media and some of that stuff's wanting to build a platform, so they built one for us. I also know Event Live is a tremendously good platform. Most of the festivals I've had films in and use Eventline. It's very, very, so you just have to make sure it's absolutely secure, make sure no one can right click and download the film. Really have to have geofencing in a whole variety of ways because people will want it. And obviously your deliverables are different. It's different than, if someone is in the theater and online, it means send us a DCP, send us an MP4 file, under 10 megabyte or under 10 gigabytes. So it's a little more work on everybody's part, but we just absolutely think every year we've had it online. We had it all online, and then we've had 2 years where it's also been online, and our audience continues to grow online as well. So we're all adjusting.
Are you able to view all the films on your film festival year round, or is it just during the festival time?
No, there's also different ways of doing it. So when we decided to do it, and again, I think this is germane to even all the filmmakers listening and whatnot as well, is we tried to look at other festivals that had online and what do we like about them and what we don't like about them. And so ours is always limited to the 10 or 11 days of the festival.
Okay.
I would also add we have done some encore screenings later and a few of those kind of things, but we typically only make them during the festival. We also make all of our online films available the first day of the festival through the last day of the festival. So you also have to from internally decide, if I make this film that's screening 4 days into the festival in the theater, if I'm making it online on the first day, is that going to cannibalize people that might go to the theater? Then we say, let's play it in the theater, and then as soon as it's over in the theater, let's play it online, and then it just becomes just like a nightmare, Plus, you also have some people who attend only online, so you have an online pass, so you want to make sure you have a really robust. If you're going to charge them $50 for an online pass, you want to make sure you have enough programming for them. So, because we've also found what's great about online festivals, I don't know about the rest of you folks, but it allows me to go to Sundance. It allows me to go to all these other festivals and never really go there. The thing that makes it difficult is if you buy a film online, a lot of times it's like once you start watching it, you have 24 hours. Once you or you have a 48-hour window, or you can't fast forward, or you can't. So you have to kind of think of all those things. We feel really good about what we've tried to do. We try to make it really affordable. And again, for us, it also makes things very, very accessible for people who, we actually have a theater where you don't have to pay for parking and things, but, attending is difficult, and a lot of young people just watch stuff at home. So we've enjoyed that component. I am so pleased after 3 years, I don't have to really deal with the day-to-days of that anymore. We've got a technical guy that comes and uploads all that stuff, and sorry.
Well, we're about what, 15, 20 minutes in. I already know why I don't run a film festival. So,
well, when I hear people talking about 11 years, and when I hear people talking about 3 or 4 years, I just want to say congratulations. The actual most typical festivals kind of fold after a couple of years because they realize how thankless and how much work it is to herd all of these cats. Yeah. I respect filmmakers, but it's still hurting cats.
Yeah. Yep.
So I have a question on behalf of filmmakers out there who are listening. We're going to start with this question for all of you, but we're going to start with Tad. What are some tips you can give to filmmakers to improve their chances of getting their film accepted into your film festival?
Well, I would say when you're submitting, read through the rules and the stipulations and read all the fine print, because we get films that just are not at all fit for a festival, and they've spent their money submitting, and I do what I can, but it's like, why are you spending money if you're not reading through things first? supply what they're asking for. Upload a cover letter, upload a student ID if you're submitting as a student. Give us stills to work with, give us something to promote with, that kind of stuff. But there's little things. There's always sort of the argument on length. I've had people reach out and ask, your limit's 35 minutes. My film's 45, so I'm going to try to cut 10 minutes and make a cut for your festival. And I'm like, well, don't sacrifice the quality of your film for my festival. That just means it's not necessarily fit for my festival, and that's okay. There are plenty of festivals that would take your film, but it's just it's hard as a festival director. One of the hardest things is sending out those rejection letters and telling people that their film's not making it. And as much as I wish I could take them all, I can't. But like I said, just making sure that your film is fit for a festival before you hit that submit button, to me, is the first thing. Don't waste you're wasting the director's time, you're wasting your own time. And in case of, submission fees, you're wasting money that's, hard to come by for most people. And that would be my sort of first recommendation.
You said, mention the filmmaker who has a 45-minute film and wants to cut 10 minutes out of it. My question is, if you have a 45-minute film that you can cut 10 minutes out of, why is it 45 minutes to begin with?
Precisely.
Yeah. Why haven't you cut
exactly
earlier?
Cut it originally. But anyway, that's just my film.
But that's a filmmaker's
Why not add
view.
25 minutes? Why not add 25 minutes and make it a feature? It's the same silly logic.
A couple more plot holes.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Greg, what tips do you have out there?
I don't have a lot of tips. So we don't have a submission fee on the Flatwater Film Festival, and again, that's just for encouraging you to send in whatever you have. And that does come back to bite us because we get hundreds of movies from the Middle East for whatever reason.
Really?
Yeah. We have to. Sift
I
through
get
all
those emails every day.
Yep.
Oh my God, the Iranian film community must be amazing.
Right?
Yep.
No kidding.
Yeah. So so long as you're from Nebraska or affiliated with Nebraska, I don't have a lot of tips for you. Just be out there, be making movies. It doesn't matter how long it is. We played, I think our first year, we played a 2-hour and 10-minute feature, and we played as low as a 1-minute animation film. So we'll take about whatever, just because we want to see what you're putting, or we want you to see what you're putting up on the big screen. So
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay.
Eric?
I got to echo what Tad said about rules. Just read the rules.
Yeah.
Most festivals are pretty good about being very explicit with their rules. If when this was our first year doing things on Film Freeway, it was kind of a leap of faith. We've always done things sort of the old-fashioned way, and I wanted to do that, and I thought, this is good. But so many, and I'm a filmmaker myself, so I've gone through the whole process as a filmmaker. I've been a judge, so I've gone through the whole process on Film Freeway. I've seen it from all sides. Just read the rules. Most festivals are doing a very good job of being very thorough with their rules. We've been fortunate; we've only gotten a couple of ineligible submissions this year. But it's a simple thing. We've got the Iowa Connection requirement, and if you don't fit that, you're disqualified. I'm sorry. The other thing, if you have questions, if you wonder about whether your film is appropriate for the festival, your content or anything, reach out. I can't speak for everyone, but I love getting emails from filmmakers who have honest questions about what the festival is like. What's the venue like? What's the audiences like? Don't just enter a festival because you see a festival and you can afford the festival and you fit the requirements. Find out if it's your type of event. Find out if the audience is the type of people you want to see your film. Reach out to film festival directors, because for me personally, I love getting the emails from filmmakers, because it's dialogue. It puts a face, well, not really a face, but puts a little bit more personal relationship than just, oh, here's another submission. Now, I wouldn't say that necessarily affects your chances of getting selected, but like anything else, like a good cover letter, it just shows a little bit more thought, I guess.
Actually, before we go on to Bill's answer here, I want to pass along. We went to, I'm going to forget the name of the festival. It's just north of Minneapolis.
Highway 61?
Yeah, Highway 61
or
Festival.
Duluth Superior. Highway 61.
Highway 61. We had...
You came up for that festival? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, we had entered
I know.
Tea Party in it. And it must have been like right on the verge of, do we let it in, do we not? Can we squeeze it in or not? And something we try to do is, if we get a rejection from a film festival, we still send them a thank you for at least reviewing our film and taking the time to do that. And I sent them the email thanking them for taking a look at our film and for the time. And they got back to me and said, you know what, we're going to squeeze your film in. We're going to squeeze it in. We got time. We'll fit it in. Just because I took the extra time to reach out to them. And it was a great festival. Went up there and
nice.
They treated us like, my wife and I went and we were treated like rock stars up there. But it was fun.
You didn't let me know. We would have had drinks.
Should have.
I didn't go to that festival, but I know of it. And what's good about that festival, too, is a fellow festival here in the Twin Cities. We're obviously like a professional, big festival, but they're very conscientious about calling us, what are your dates? Coexisting, because there's a lot of symbiotic sort of stuff. Yeah.
So, Bill, what tips do you have?
I have a couple of ideas really. Yeah. First of all, kudos to everyone what you said, because I quickly wrote down a few things and you've actually touched on most of them. I want to reiterate a couple things, and I have a couple other things you might consider. Cover letter. We said several people mentioned cover letter. And again, cover letters are extremely important. You can have a template of a basic cover letter, but also the first few words in a cover letter should be a hook. A hook of why you picked their festival. An actor is from there. Your festival specializes in this. Like any kind of connection you can possibly make. And again, for us, because we open it up to around the country, any Minnesota or Midwest connection, you should just go through the effort of making that. We always read every cover letter. We just read cover letters. I think it's really important. I love somebody mentioned stills. Have a decent poster that grabs our attention, that's in the right format. Don't make it square. Don't make it horizontal. Usually it's a thumbnail. Have a right poster, and then give us 5 or 6 stills. Nowadays, it's kind of like a thumbnail, and then, it's the way it's on Eventbrite and all this stuff. So we love stills. I would also say enter as early as you possibly can. Enter early. For us that watch hundreds and hundreds of movies, by the late deadline, regular deadline, late deadline, extended late deadline, we are tired of watching movies. We've pretty much have picked what we want to show, and you have to bump somebody else. It's like that singing show where they have people sit in chairs, and you got to I want this in, so now I got to bump somebody off a chair. You got to be damn good if you're going to bump somebody off. So I always say set the standard. It's like, ooh, that's in. So I always say save money, do it early. Save it money doing early. And the only other thing from a filmmaker standpoint or a festival standpoint I would say is think of it as business. You're developing relationships with artists. We stalk filmmakers. We check in with our filmmakers that have had films in the past. If I'm in a festival and I have another film, I go back to that festival. I make sure they get a waiver. I just make it very, very easy to be in touch with us. Now, if a filmmaker is not easy to work with, they might have a great film, but if they're not easy to work with, they're slow to deliver things. They get their panties in a bind over a minor thing. I don't pursue them. There's a handful of filmmakers on this planet that I don't care what you make. I'm not, So, those are just a few of my sort of things that I wrote. I want to reiterate.
Awesome.
Tad, I had a question. You said you guys do the script readings, right? That's kind of a big thing that you guys do. What are some of the things that you guys look through when you're deciding who's going to do whose script you're going to do the reading for? What do you guys look at?
Well, Well, actually, that would be more of a question for JoJo, who was on this podcast, I believe,
Yeah.
on the most recent
Mike forgot to
episode.
ask that one.
Well, we forgot to ask JoJo, and so I figured you'd know.
But it's very similar to the film entries. I mean, she reads through them, multiple times, and sort of like Bill was saying, I mean, it's probably a controversial thing to say, but I've explained it to filmmakers when it comes to films. If you have a 30-minute short film and, versus 10 3-minute shorts, your 30-minute short has to be really, really good, because I can accept, 10 3-minute shorts versus your one 30-minute short. It's really tough because, I like I said, turning down filmmakers is really tough, but the longer you have to make every minute count. And same with the screenwriting. You have to really sort of make every page count, especially in a short screenplay. So I don't want to answer for her, but I mean, it's just, the same type of thing, quality. What would make a good table reading? We have accepted short screenplays from other countries before and had the directors over Zoom, and it's 2 a.m. where they're at, and it's 3 p.m. here, and it's an experience. But obviously we prefer to have the filmmakers there, but we're not going to disqualify somebody because they can't make it. If their screenplay is really, really good, we're going to accept it. So
Okay, cool.
In our defense, we would have asked JoJo, but we were kind of got sidetracked by the topic of wearing goat legs. So
Yeah. Or the cat
yeah.
ears.
she had to wear goat legs for a film,
Yeah.
so we kind of got sidetracked by that
Yeah.
conversation. But JoJo's pretty wild. She's awesome.
Oh yeah, she's been with SNAF before all of us. So
Yep. It seems like everybody knows her. It's like everybody we talk to. Oh yeah,
Yep.
I know JoJo. Or you got to talk
Or
to
know
JoJo.
know the name.
she's made connections through all the festivals. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so now moving on to the next question. So a filmmaker gets accepted to your festival, and they're going to show up. They're going to represent their film at your film festival. What are some do's and don'ts? And you can relate some stories that you've seen as I bump the microphone here. What are some do's and don'ts for that filmmaker at the festival as they're attending? And if you have horror stories, we'll always welcome horror stories.
Yeah, we want horror stories. We want some dirt.
So who do we want to go first? Mike, you pick.
Let's go with Bill.
A couple of things. I always think, I remind myself that attending a festival, and again, it depends on what festival you're attending, but it's this opportunity, and there's lots of things happening. There's lots of emotions, and if it's you guys in Nebraska and all that, a lot of times mothers and brothers and aunts and uncles can kind of come and all that kind of stuff. The first thing I would say to a filmmaker is remember that your experience at a festival, you have to direct that experience for the other people. If you want pictures on the red carpet of you and your grandma or everybody in the cast, tell them to get their butt to the theater early, it's like you have to direct what you want to happen. That would be the first thing I would say. And when I have first-time filmmakers, have you been to a festival? Let me give you some hints. And they don't have to do it. Maybe they have they're a really organized person that it was on the crew and stuff. But otherwise, people show up late. People don't, it's just a haphazard sort of thing. We're a festival that we do live interviews on our Facebook page on the red carpet. We do official photos. We always do intros and Q&As and all that kind of stuff. So direct your experience there with everyone. Number two, remember that you don't know who's going to be in the audience. We have a festival that does attract some distributors and other filmmakers and stuff. So figure out what's going to come out of your mouth. There's questions that are going to be asked about your film, and you should be able to articulate those. We don't need too cool for school. This is not Hollywood. So think ahead of time what you're going to say at interviews. And also, I'll use a Q&A example. I'm assuming some of you do Q&As. Decide ahead of time and limit the number of people that come down for the Q&As. If I have more than 2 or 3 people representing the film, what do you do with all these people up in front? And that shouldn't be up to me. That should be up to the producer or the director. It's like, who do you want to do in the Q&A? Acknowledge everybody, but just have it limited, because otherwise, and sometimes you tell them that and they don't do it that way, and then 20 people stand in front and it becomes a little bit of goofiness. So think about who you want to do your Q&A, or how, all of that kind of stuff. And then, and just plan just a little bit ahead, if that sort of makes sense. Those are my cup. I always think, direct your experience. And the other, just a general thing too, is we really try to connect all our filmmakers before the festival so that people know who the other filmmakers are, and they get e-blasts and all this kind of stuff. So, I would also add them to make sure you tell them you're available to be on panel discussions. Tell them you're willing to visit schools. Tell them, we have an industry tour in the Twin Cities. When filmmakers come to visit one day of the festival, we say, we're going to these 4 places, this distribution place, this, these kind of things. So let them know you're coming and what you're willing to do. Those are my... Oh, and I have horror story. The only last thing I would say is this. Get your deliverables on time. I have stood on a red carpet, I remember this year 3 or something, on a red carpet interviewing people, and they handing me their freaking Blu-ray to play.
Been there.
No tech check. No, and again, it was a film we accepted that showed a rough cut, and they were going to have it done, and we'll have it done 3 weeks ahead. Well, one year we ended up playing a film off of a laptop.
Oh.
You learn early on, it's like, if it doesn't show up by this date, it's not playing.
Yeah.
So how to prepare, you just have your stuff ready and get it to us, so that, because you want it to also, you don't want to be sitting in the audience worrying if your film is going to play. I would also add this: we have a pretty arduous group of people that are our studio or our theater hosts, and they always offer tech checks. There's a contact person there all the time, so that if they want the volume to go up and down, but just pay attention to your film. Does that make sense? Just
yeah.
I don't want to say worry about it, but I'll use Cedar Rapids as an example. We had 4 screenings of the feature, and I drove down all from the Twin Cities to Cedar Rapids to do tech checks.
Well, let's go with Eric then. Go with Eric, since you said Cedar Rapids.
I will do that.
Sure. So, give grace to the film festival organizers, because there's a lot of spinning plates in the air that the organizers are dealing with, whether it's technical things, whether it's personnel things, whether it's staffing, audience, the venue. There's all sorts of things that go into the logistics of putting together a festival and then running that festival. And there's bound to be technical issues. It happens. We do our best to rectify those issues quickly, but there have been times when the sound's not been right in the auditorium, or the aspect ratio got screwed up somehow in the projection. We'll do our best to fix that. We want to make sure that the film looks and sounds how you're expecting it to look and sound. It just happens, and it's just one of those things where we know that it's going to happen occasionally, and we deal with it. But we have had you wanted a horror story. It's been a number of years, but there was an instance where a filmmaker's film was not showing to their standards. I don't recall exactly if it was an aspect ratio thing, or if it was it might have been the picture wasn't scaled right, and it was a little bit off onto like the curtains on the side of the screen, and they actually went into the projection booth to talk to the projectionist, versus coming to one of the organizers and saying something. They took it upon themselves to go directly to the booth.
That's kind of a big no-no, isn't it?
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. Because those people are focused on what they're doing. Go to one of the organizers. Go to if there's a host in the auditorium that you're projecting in, go to that person and talk to them. But don't go up to the booth and start bothering the people up there. Besides, at least in Cedar Rapids, we've got kind of a cluttered booth, and you could actually probably trip and hurt yourself.
Oh, yeah. Liability issues, yeah, definitely. Okay, let's go, Greg.
So we because we're still so young, a lot of the do's and don'ts come more to the festival organizers, and I liked the thing that Eric said of give grace to the festival organizers, because things can go wrong. And when we started our festival last year, we had a massive projector issue. We didn't start until like 45 minutes after we said we were going to start, because we couldn't get the projector to play what was going on. So our crowd was actually very cordial and very gracious about it. And we just kept telling them we're working on it. We finally got it going, and everything was all good to go. So yeah, definitely give grace to those who are running it, because there's a lot of things, and gremlins do happen. The other thing that I would say is, and I want to do this delicately because I don't want to upset anybody, but don't get upset where your film is placed. It was placed there for a reason. And two horror stories, both years that we've gotten. The first year that we did this, I got a scathing Facebook message from one of our films about where his film was placed, because he couldn't go and see another film he wanted to see due to wanting to watch his film. And it's like, what do you want me to do here? And last year we had an individual who was not very happy with his placement, because he thought his film was more of a headliner type, and we put him in the middle of the day on Saturday. And it's like, we're not doing this out here to screw you over.
It's on a Saturday.
Right.
It's on a Saturday.
We're not out here to give it.
Win.
Right. We're not out here to screw you over.
Sorry for that outburst.
Ease up, George Lucas. Ease up.
We're not out here to stick it to you because we don't like you. That's not the case at all.
Yeah.
It's how the film was programmed into the event. So just we're happy that you're playing, but give us some grace.
Yeah.
I invite any filmmaker out there that wants to be a part of a festival and help with the organizing of a schedule to give me a call anytime, because I would love that. I would love to have that that task handed off to somebody else.
Well, that's just another reason why I don't run a film festival. So.
Well, give them another point of view. I mean, if you get a filmmaker to help out at least 1 year.
But at the same time, what Greg has just said, though, is a good pointer. Like, you have a couple of instances where people could not empathize with the reality of the situation and left you're probably hard-pressed to really embrace them being at your festival again, or considering their material, just because they kind of had the wrong attitude. I loved how you also said, hey, the crowd was pretty good with the problem, wait 45 minutes. I lean into that stuff. The moment there's a problem, just keep them informed. Mm-hmm. It's like a late plane or whatever. It's like, all we need to know is what's going on. Yep, we're going to have to re-rack, or we're going to have to start the DCP over again. And people are great. Just ignore the French subtitles. Sorry. It's the copy we got.
All right, Tad?
Anyway.
I'm having all kinds of flashbacks now after all these stories, because we've had all of those. I've had someone the day of their screening, I sent you the wrong version of my film. It's not the final one, and here it is. And I'm like, we don't play off physical media. You should have. Right. You've had 4 months to get me the correct version, and you're coming an hour before your film's playing. But communication, sort of like what Bill was saying, but communication is so key. It's always fun to have surprise filmmakers show up to your festival, but we'd like to know how many of you are coming so we can prepare for merchandise. We can prepare. We do, gift bags for everybody. And don't burn bridges. You're here to network. So sort of think of a goal. When you get accepted, think of a goal of what you want out of this festival. Because I've had filmmakers who get accepted, they show up, and not only do they not network, they sort of just almost go there and burn every bridge possible. Just don't represent their film, and it's a bummer because I'm sure there's some great people who've worked on these films, and this one person comes and makes it a bad experience, not just for me as a festival director, but other filmmakers around them, that now, word spreads fast in a small Iowa filmmaking community. You got to be careful with that and sort of think, is this worth it? Because sometimes staying quiet is better than, having a negative opinion or a negative attitude at a festival. It is so much work. I've had people ask me advice. They say, I want to start a festival. What should I do? And I say, don't. I mean, I know, to be honest, I have never, until I started, I took over for Lonnie, I had never really organized an event. I was just helping program films at the Capitol Theater, and I stumbled upon this festival as a patron. I loved the festival, and I started volunteering and helping judge and stuff. And then Lonnie just sort of said, it's too much work for me. I need to hand it to someone younger. Would you take over? And to be honest, it was like, I love this so much, I don't want to see it disappear. And I felt like if I didn't take the reins, it would, and just got thrust into it. And it's just amazing what people think happens behind the scenes of a film festival versus what's really happening, and it's awesome to talk to other people who are sympathetic and understand that. I've had so many technical glitches. One that really comes to mind, we had a feature, one of the few, I think we've played less than 5 features over the last 11 years, and we had a feature that we did not get. I'm always paranoid, so I'm always doing tech check on everything. I actually run the projector at the festival because I don't trust anyone. And I check every film 5 times. I go down to an audience and check audio and video. And we had a feature. It was a big night and it was a huge crowd. And about 45 minutes into this feature, it just freezes. And what do? I tried going back to the main menu, starting back up where it was. It would not go beyond that 45-minute point. So, the filmmaker, here's a Vimeo link. Can you run it from your laptop? We're struggling. And funny story, Brian O'Halloran from Clerks happened to be at our festival.
Wow.
And he stayed the whole week, and he sees me upstairs having a panic attack because I'm trying to get this film to play. And he grabs a microphone, runs up on stage, and starts doing a stand-up set. And he explains, hey, they're having some technical hiccups upstairs.
Nice.
But, you guys might know me. I'm Brian O'Halloran from Clerks. If you don't know me, it's this independent film that was really big in the 90s. And he went into this whole stand-up routine. And I'm just like, I couldn't help but laugh. But upstairs, I'm losing my mind, freaking out. We're switching players, trying to figure out, I'm trying to hook up a laptop. Luckily, he got up there and saved me about 10 to 15 minutes. We got it loaded up on a laptop and finished the movie. But, looking back, it's funny. But at the time, I thought that was the end of everything. This is how it goes down. And luckily, he was there and people were understanding. But that's probably like one I'll remember until the day I die, is that crazy night. But,
wow.
Yeah.
Thank God he was there.
We haven't had a whole had a whole lot of horror stories attending festivals, but
Not too many. No.
the only one, the worst one I think I can remember, and I'm not going to mention the name of the festival, was years ago, but we submitted a film and it got accepted. It was going to play at the theater, and we showed up and we're watching some of the films before ours, and we knew when our film was coming up. Well, right before our film. And let me preface this with saying our film had some night scenes in it. So they're kind of a little dark to begin with, lighting-wise. And we're watching the film before ours, and their film was really, really bright that it was actually almost burning, whiting out the screen in some spots. And I saw the little bar pop up where it was going brightness, and it kept on, the projectionist was moving it down and down.
No.
I was like, oh, crap.
Oh, no.
I hope he remembers to turn that back up for our film. And he didn't. So our night scenes were pretty much just talking black screen. But the day scenes looked okay. So we just kind of grinned and bared it. But it's one of those things that happens. But
Yeah.
What are
A
you gonna
couple of
do?
years ago, on the first day, of our festival. Luckily we've upgraded the projection at the theater, but it had 2 lamps, and I turned on the projector to start the day for the festival at noon, and one of the 2 lamps burn out, and I go to the theater and I'm like, "You guys got a backup?" And they're like, "Nope, you're on the last lamp." And that was a little unnerving, but luckily we made it through, and the projector's actually designed to run on 1 lamp, so it didn't really affect the picture. But just knowing that in my brain, in the back of my head, that if this one goes out, there's no, and the whole, let's just say I didn't eat for those 4 days. I'm just like so freaked out.
Yeah, and I'm imagining that those lamps are pretty pricey. I wouldn't know on some of the movie projectors, but I know where I work, we have some of those projectors that are attached to the ceiling. And when people forget to shut them off, we end up having to replace the bulbs a lot. And I know that those bulbs are like $150 a bulb. So, so I'm assuming they're more than that.
This thing about 600.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. So yeah, that's kind of a sphincter.
Kind of sitting there, in your own sweat all week.
Yeah. Everything starts tightening up.
Hey, Tad, it sounds like you do all DCP digital stuff, DCP stuff.
Well, when I took over, they were still using physical media, and I put an end to that. The host theater was still running on like an actual Blu-ray player, but when I took over, I started doing digital files, and just during quarantine, the theater upgraded to DCP. So that's where we're at now. We can do digital files or DCP, is sort of both. Mm-hmm. But making that switch because I remember when I attended my festival before I was any part of it, you would be reading the booklet and it would say, "Oh, this foreign film's coming up." And you'd see the little, up on the screen, the icon of the tray of the Blu-ray player opening and closing, and then nothing. And they'd say, "Well, this film's not playing because they sent a Region 2 Blu-ray," And it's like, physical media, it's like you can't trust it. So, we moved on from physical media as soon as I took over. That was like one of the first things. I'm like, we can't be trusting physical media. So,
do all you guys do DCP, or do you do other medias?
We don't do DCP. Yeah. We have the ability to, but we do high bitrate MP4s or MOV files typically.
We do the same.
Mm-hmm. We have DCPs, and for many years we've done Blu-ray backups just because of the theater. But I think we're going to kind of cut the cord and just like DCP, because again, I think also another point I was going to make too, and part of the reason I brought up DCPs is because several years ago, when we were getting DCPs, a lot of filmmakers would make their own with some not so good hardware or not so good program. I've never made a DCP, so I don't know exactly what to say, except that every homemade one was the one that wouldn't work. And then you go back to the filmmaker going, "Your DCP doesn't work. Oh, it needs to be this and that." To me, it's not my strength, but I know we ran into that. So we were always like, pay to have a professional DCP made. When I have a feature, I go to a place and I spend the money to get a professional DCP made. I would also add, though, I think that some of the more homespun DCP making things, sorry, that's so not technical. I think they're better. I think they're a software or app or whatever they do to make them. Because I know Peter Grendel, who runs our theater real well, and he's really up on this and said, "No, this will work," because it keeps making DCPs for us. But even our shorts, they're sent on MP4s or MOVs, and they're compiled and then made into a DCP. That's the way we do it now.
So you guys are actually making the DCP for the filmmaker for the shorts, or
for the shorts we do, and we also we have an arrangement with where we get DCPs made that if someone needs one, we can give them a good rate to get it done. I've been in some festivals, even Charcoal Skies was one out east, and they demanded that I pay $400 to have a DCP made with their place, and I was like, wait a minute, I already have DCPs. Yeah, but we want to make sure. I said, this is played a dozen times in a dozen different theaters. Here's my DCP on a thumb drive. And he was like, I've never gotten a DCP on a thumb drive. And I said, here's your thumb drive. Upload it. And we're played fine. So Anyway, But a couple of years ago, I got on some filmmakers like, just spend the money to get a decent DCP made.
See, up to this point, we've been using Adobe to export out to DCP.
Yep.
And we actually tested out at a local movie theater here that they allow us to come in.
And it worked?
And those work fine.
Good.
With the one of the film festivals out west here lately, they said that their equipment would no longer take the Adobe DCPs. So we had to get a different piece of software. And what they would do on top of that is they did have a company that we'd pay like $40, and they would make sure that the DCP would actually work. So we could send it to them. They would make sure that it worked. And if it didn't, they could send it back to us and we'd have to try something else. But it was only $40 to at least make sure it worked before the festival got it. So
Interesting. I use DCP-O-Matic, and I haven't had any problems with it. But that's interesting. I haven't heard anybody come back to me and say, "Hey, your DCP doesn't work." As a filmmaker, so
yeah, I was surprised they were saying the Adobe Raptor DCP wasn't going to work on their equipment or something. Which that's the first time I've ever heard of that, so I have no information beyond that. But I was kind of curious because a lot of the film festivals, I hear they end up in DCP, but all they've asked us for is the download off Film Freeway. So I was wondering if they must be converting them then to the DCP on their side. So, okay.
Yeah, you probably would compile all the shorts. Bill, do you guys compile all the shorts into like a short block and then create a DCP of
you
that
compile
block?
them and you compile them on a timeline. They typically make just an MP4 file so that we proof it, share it with the shorts team. They proof that everything's there and it's right, and then they make a DCP. Our person actually who makes a DCP will sit through the entire short block in the theater and make notes if there's any problems anywhere, and if there was, he'll redo it. But yeah, we're pretty trusted,
Wow.
But
for
you
as
do
many
have
films
problems.
Bill, for as many films, that probably takes a considerable amount of time for someone to assemble all that.
For shorts, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we play usually 40 to 50 shorts. Yeah, it takes a while, but again, part of the process is if every filmmaker literally got their short uploaded to this FTP server. See, I do know a few technical things. FTP server. I manage people is pretty much what I do, but if they would all get it up on the FTP server at the right time, then you can lay down the short block. You can get it already, but you get 6 out of 7, and the 7th one is late. It sits there maybe for 2 weeks waiting for the last short to throw in. So it's all a matter of. But I would also say our shorts deadlines are sooner than our feature deadlines because of that. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
We love shorts though, and we anchor our shorts blocks thematically with virtually Minnesota or Midwest films, and then add others. And yeah, we get 60% of all of our submissions are short films. That's where many of us start, is making short films.
True.
So Tad kind of transitioned into this question here. What advice can you give to people out there, those brave, hardy souls who may be considering starting up their own film festival?
No!
And who do you want to start with, Mike?
Let's start with Tad.
Yeah, you know my answer. No, I would say, talk to other festival directors. Honestly, that's the first thing, is talk to people, festivals that you enjoy, that you've been to and you like. Talk to them and see, if it's even obtainable in the first place. See if, don't make any announcements. Don't even go out and don't open for submissions until you have all of your ducks in a row, because once you hit that open for submissions, things start flying, and you better be ready. I sort of threw myself into it and learned what not to do. I always tell people I know exactly how not to run a festival after running one for many years, because you learn from your mistakes. And I would just say, yeah, talk to festival directors and other filmmakers and your local community to see, if it's a fit for your area, if that's something that your area needs, and figure out if it's worth it to you, I guess, because it's a lot of thankless work. It's a lot of time. Just hearing Bill talking about the DCPs and testing, if you could see me the month before my festival, it's 2 a.m. and I'm sitting, luckily I have keys to our host theater, so I'm sitting at 2 a.m. down in the theater and I'm writing notes like a madman. Oh, this one, I think I need to bump up the volume just a little bit, or this could use some tweaking, or maybe I should switch these 2 shorts in the block because I'm trying to play with the audience's emotions, and it becomes like I'm like a mad scientist or something. But yeah, just make sure that you know that it's a huge commitment. Whether you have 100 people on your team or 4 like us, you're gonna be doing a lot of work, and make sure you really love it and can put your all into it, or it's not worth doing.
Greg?
We wouldn't be as successful as we have been if we didn't have the team that we have. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things to start off with, is to make sure that you have a team that you work insanely well together with, because you're going to be doing a lot of meetings, you're going to be doing a lot of creative work. And if you don't have a team that is cohesive and works really well together, then there's going to be a lot of bumps and hurdles along the way. That would also include on that team is whoever you're working, the theater that you're working with, or however you're playing that with, because ultimately, if you don't have a location, you don't have a film festival. So that team is the core of creating a successful film festival. And I had another one, shoot, and I lost it.
Well, we'll go to the next. We'll go to
Team's
Eric.
a good one.
Yeah, we'll go to Eric, and then if you remember, just jump in.
I have to echo what they both said. The team is if a festival can't be put on by one person alone. It requires a team. It requires, like Greg said, a team that works well together, a team that has varied talents, connections, and experiences. Because film festivals are about sales. They're about public relations. They're about customer relations. They're about event logistics, event planning, crowd management. The more people that you can get involved in your team that bring all of those kinds of experiences and abilities, the better. And there's others. I mean, we have people. We have a very, like Tad, we have a very small group. We have 4 people ourselves, and we're actually looking to expand our board, just because we feel we have some holes in a few places. But like, if you need fundraising, you need someone who's good at fundraising or selling ads in your programs. You need someone who's good with working with technology, maybe. Someone who's good at wrangling volunteers. It's just, we're fortunate that we have a couple of like marketing and PR people. We're probably a little too heavy in the marketing and PR side of things, honestly. But so we've never had a problem with the promotional side of things. But we've struggled with fundraising. We've struggled with ad sales. We're pretty good with volunteers. But yeah, it just comes down to having a good team that's got a lot of diversity of skills and experiences.
Bill?
I would just add 2 quick things, and again, I echo like everything everyone else has said. I always go back to business sort of stuff. The idea that, number one, will your community, why do you want to do a film festival in the first place? Is there a festival that doesn't do a good job? Is there a big void that isn't being filled or whatever? And in particular, in our case, it was, there was no festival that studios wanted to play movies at. And there was, and we're a festival that really is designed to, yes, show films, but it's also to develop filmmakers with education and production and distribution and stuff. So that makes a difference. But, be realistic, like what your film festival is going to be. Because there's community film festivals, there's niche film festivals, there's top tier festivals, there's industry festivals. What is realistically for where you are, where you're at? Connect with the local schools is a big deal, to get film students there and stuff like that. So That's what I would do. And there's a lot of festivals. And somebody mentioned, if this guy left, it would fold up. The other thing you have to remember, as a person who's getting older and looking at stepping aside here relatively soon, you look at trying to create something that will sustain itself after that. So you can't just have generals. You have to have generals and sergeants and corporals and everybody that buy into your vision and nurture them. And unfortunately, the more you nurture, sometimes you work with less and less people because there's groups of people that handle larger pieces of it. I don't know. The problems never change. The problems never go away. The type of problems just change different. It's nice to have a big budget, but then it means then or it's nice to go year round, but then all of a sudden you have to deal with being year round and coming up with the funds to keep that going as well. So, Italian restaurant and a Asian restaurant can coexist side by side, but you can't have two Italian restaurants next to each other on the same street. It doesn't work. So you have to just look in your vicinity and where are the voids, and then fight really hard to keep people coming to the theater, because you guys, we have an uphill battle. Mm-hmm. We have an uphill battle. Mm-hmm. We're competing with sitting at home with popcorn and everybody having 70-inch TVs and paying $15 and getting 5,000 movies in front of them. So if we want to keep that filmmaking experience, and the only last thing I would say is, when I helped start this festival, I was already a filmmaker and I had been in festivals, but there is no doubt that relationships with filmmakers is the key. Because if filmmakers don't like the communication or the projection, or if they aren't willing to let you use their art, you got nothing. You don't have anything. And so for us, we just go out of our way to, oh my God, the day after, if you're on the red carpet on one day, by the next day, you've got your official pictures are in your inbox and links to your interviews from the red carpet. Be ready to keep an eye on, but I would also say this. One of the things I also look for in filmmakers, if you're going to run a festival, be ready to do this. If a filmmaker has a film at our festival, I look at their Facebook page, I look at their Twitter, or my marketing people do, and if they're not promoting their film at my festival, we call them on it. People think that because you're in a festival that it's up to us to fill the audience and sell tickets. It's like when you distribute a film, you think everybody's unless you got $1 bazillion, everybody's not working for you. You've got to. So if your theater is half empty, it's because a lot of times a filmmaker doesn't do their work. So you just have to be ready to herd these cats and really do well by filmmakers. Ugh. Well,
Greg, did you figure out what else you were going to say?
Community. You get involved with the community, and with Flatwater, because we're in Seward, Nebraska. It's a smaller town, but we've gotten some great connections with we work with a local bakery there, and we do donuts and coffee on Saturday mornings. We bring that in.
We do that too.
Nice.
Yeah. And you find those.
Oh, you guys, that's so Midwest. That's so Midwest.
It's like, what kind of coffee? Donuts? Sorry, donuts.
No, we've got a bunch of great sponsors and a bunch of great companies that we've worked with.
People will give you all sorts of free stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, what did Mentos? Like our second year, we got a bunch of Mentos, so we put Mentos in every coffee cup or every cup
holder. With the coffee?
Yeah, what's that?
With the coffee?
No, not with the coffee. Just Mentos.
Ew.
And for the next 3 years, people are like, no Mentos? What's going on?
Yeah.
1 year we put,
Don't put it in Coke.
Coupons for stuff. They love that stuff. And companies will give you free stuff. And so sometimes people go, oh, I got a free coupon for something, and that's what they'll remember about the festival. Create that experience,
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget, don't be afraid to ask people for things. Yeah, you have to put yourself out there.
Yeah. Yep. You're creating something of value. Yeah. One of my colleague, Jaden Satia, has done an excellent job, and we're a little different than a lot of festivals, but we most of our money comes from sponsorships. Mm-hmm. Our cars are sponsored, our theater is sponsored, our red carpet is sponsored. Just get $500 to be the theater's red carpet sponsor, then put their little logo on there, and every picture that's taken, their logo's there. Try and sell I joke with Jaden a little bit about you'd sell anything, and it's like, it's exposure with people.
Yeah.
So.
Do you guys all have a red carpet, a real red carpet? No.
We're going to for our first time. We're going to actually have a red carpet this year and a step and repeat. This is new. We're breaking new ground this year. So
there you go.
We wanted to up the experience just a little bit. So,
let me give you some hints. I think red carpets are fantastic. When you go to a lot of big festivals, they're very off limits unless you're behind the stanchion and personally invited. A red carpet should be open to the public. A red carpet should be open to every person that comes to your festival. If someone buys a ticket, if somebody's in the theater to see another movie and they want to take a picture on your red carpet, let them take a picture on your red carpet.
Absolutely, they'll share it on Facebook, and then all of a sudden people are
Yep.
We have parties. We have parties every night at our festival, networking events every night of our festival, and they're open to the public. I go to Los Angeles, I go to the other festivals, and it's like, ooh, can I get a ticket? Can I get in? It's like, make your festival available. Just make it available.
And if you hand out Mentos,
we've had
probably have it made. So.
Red carpet and Mentos.
Yeah, I mean, at our after parties are open to the public, and we'll have a big influx of people. We're in a very small town. If you're at a bar and you see a place filled with people you don't recognize, they start asking questions. Who are these people? Oh, they're filmmakers. Where are you from? Oh, we're from California. We're from New York. That's really cool. What are you doing here? Well, my film's playing tomorrow. Oh, there's a film festival in town? That's cool.
Completely.
Suddenly you have a whole group of new people. And our photographer is really good at making sure anybody who steps. We're lucky that we have a whole separate room with our red carpet that has our merch table and filmmaker sign in. And our photographer's really good at making sure anyone who steps in that room, oh, did you get your picture taken yet? Well, I'm not a filmmaker. Well, so step in front of the red carpet. We want to get your picture. You're here. You're part of the festival. Even if you're just watching the film, you're part of this festival. And, then he puts a link up online. You can view the gallery every night, and he hands out business cards, the QR code, scan this later. Your picture will be up later tonight. Cool. And that, again, comes down to your team, but our red carpet's looking really ragged, so I think this might be, after 10 years, time to get a new one. But yeah.
And have good lighting, couple of lights.
I was in Las Vegas for a film festival, and the Uber driver picked me up at the hotel, driving me to the theater, and he asked me what I was doing in Las Vegas, and I said I was there for a film festival. So for the next 15 minutes, I got to listen to his movie pitch all the way to the theater. I'm an independent filmmaker.
Yeah, you're not Hollywood.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it doesn't, going around the group here, doesn't sound like a get-rich-quick scheme or anything like that. So
you really got to love it.
You guys got to love the movies. And, my hat's off to you. That you guys do a great job. And
do you guys get grants and stuff? And how do you?
No, like I said, we're not really good at fundraising. a lot of our we have a few good sized sponsors, but a lot of our funding comes out of entry fees and ticket sales and things like that. We're not a profitable festival by any stretch. Fortunately, we're all volunteers. We don't have any paid staff, so we run things kind of a lean show, but we're working on it.
Mm-hmm.
We did grants our first year just to kind of kickstart us and get all the funding that we needed to at least see how it ran. And I think we're trying to do a couple this year again, but I know we lean on sponsorships and ticket merch sales mostly. But yeah, we keep our bank account it's small.
At least you have a bank account.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We could probably use that's one thing we want to improve on our team is find someone who's a little bit better at finding grants. I'm the guy who goes out and knocks on doors and shakes hands and finds sponsors, and I have to teach myself to not be shy and ask anybody. And I mean, then suddenly you're getting people who you've just have money they need to spend on sponsorships. Last year we had a senior assisted living place reach out, and they're like, I think they sort of just were like, we have some money we have to spend on marketing. Can you send me your sponsorship packet? And
Nice.
I'm like, heck yeah, here you go. You got, if you have money, and you know, we'll put your logo in the book. We don't care. We're happy to. And but it's like that sort of just got me thinking. I'm like, there's a lot of untapped places out there. You know, you just gotta. The worst thing you're going to hear is no. You know, and if you hear no, then
think of yep. And think about sponsors that might want to tap into the subject matter of something you might have on. I mean, as we select films, there's the film quality and there's a good filmmaker and stuff, but you always go, is this film marketable? Is this marketable to anyone? We had one about a roller derby thing kind of stuff this last year, and a couple of roller skating places brought crowds of people and paid money to be there. You know, we've had done a lot of stuff on environmental things and affordable housing, and all of a sudden the city we're in, the city of St. Louis Park, gave us $10,000 to be sponsored. You know, so you sometimes can. You know, I live and work in a major metropolitan area, but you know, if you have a great film that's Black related content or characters or something, is there a Black History Museum? Or is there? I just always look at trying to you know, find other groups that might buy into it, even in a small amount, or just promotional sponsors. You know, like, will you send this out to your, you know, we have a women's series. Oh my God, there's women organizations all over the place. Like, oh, tell us the information. We'll send it out to our database in exchange for, you know, having a logo on the landing page, which is just a couple strokes on the back end of a WordPress. You know, it's like, we'll put your logo on it, send it out to 10,000 women. You know, so sometimes it's a little creativity. And the only last thing I would say is we have these parties and liquor is free, snacks are free. You know, liquor companies, they'll give away product. You know, we have General Mills and Pillsbury and some of that stuff up, and they'll just give us cartons of Chex Mix and all that kind of stuff. So, anyway.
So, at your festivals, do all of you have formal award shows that you put on at the end of the festival, or?
Suit
We have
and
the
tie
Eddie
kind
Awards.
of thing. Yeah. Shorts and t-shirts.
If you want to, but
We have a closing night ceremony as part of our closing party. We have a stage in our sizable lounge, and 200-300 people are there, and we just take 20 minutes or so to introduce the awards. It's hard to get people to be quiet when you're giving away a lot of free liquor. Just an FYI.
we do an award ceremony. It's very casual fun. It's supposed to be more relaxing fun, but I'm always conflicted because I let one of the other people in our group sort of run that whole thing. I'm hands off on it because I'm always conflicted. It just feels I like to see happy filmmakers when they win their awards and when they're nominated, but I always make a point when I go up and present an award to let everyone know, you know, you've been selected as part of a festival. That is incredible. Yeah. You made a film from that played on a big screen, and as cliche as that sounds, like, you know, that's really, really hard to get into a festival and to play on a big screen in front of an audience. And I just sort of hate picking winners, and it's all subjective, saying, you know, this one's better than that. But that's why we try to make it fun and more loose. And you know, our director, Kara, makes fun parody videos of famous movies from the past year. And we like to include local filmmakers in the parody videos and stuff. And we try to make it not as serious and so cutthroat as a lot of award ceremonies can be. But, yeah.
Do you have any other questions, Mike?
I think we need to ask the big question that Kevin and I always ask on all of our guests. What are 3 of your favorite films at this time? And we're going to start with Eric.
Ooh.
dang it.
God.
Well, we got to ask.
3 favorites. Do you mean 3 favorites that are sort of like floating around now, or like for our whole life?
Like
They can
his
change.
whole life.
I mean, they're going to change. So
No, these are going to be written in stone this time.
okay, all right. I'm writing it down.
All right. You know, I don't watch many movies.
I hate movies. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say Touch of Evil, Ghostbusters, and boy, the original Star Wars. Sorry, cliche.
Oh.
Bill?
You know, I have to say, I if you guys haven't seen Whale yet,
I want to see that.
Haven't seen it yet.
I sat there after for a few minutes. I couldn't get out of my seat. It was one of those movies that is just so shot in one location and so many layers, and you get grossed out, and but at the same time, there's this incredible message and stuff. And so for me, that's like the one that just like sticks in my mind that I've sat through in the last year that absolutely sort of struck me. So. But you know what? I'm being John Malkovich kind of guy.
It's a good one.
You know, that kind of stuff.
Greg.
That's only
that's
two.
okay.
Mike, you cut him off.
Oh, sorry.
What the hell?
That's okay. If he thinks of a third one later, he can say something.
I think he had a third one. Bill, do you have a third one?
You know, I did have. I actually had a third one, but I'm trying to think of the title. It's like Triangle of
Sadness.
Triangle of Sadness. I watched it on the plane. Oh my God, it was great. I mean, it's a kind of a slow burn, but it's just a commentary on what is rich and what is our economic stuff. Yeah, it's a sleeper. I don't know if a lot of people are seeing that, but I just saw that one as well. So, kind of an old one and a couple of new ones.
And now, Greg.
So I've got an 8-month-old daughter, so I haven't had a chance to see a lot of movies this year because she keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah.
I did get to see The Whale, and that was an absolutely beautiful, fantastic movie. But because I haven't seen a lot, I can give you my top 3 of my all-time favorites. American Beauty, Coco, and Chef.
Oh, Jon Favreau. The Jon Favreau movie? Oh, yeah, that's a great movie.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Absolutely love that movie.
Yeah.
I thought when you said the 8-month-old that it was going to be like Mulan, Lion King.
I mean,
all the cartoons in the world.
Three or four of my all-time top 10 are Disney movies. So at some point, it probably will be those.
Yeah,
I've seen Moana about 5 times in the last 2 days with the grandson. So
that's a great one.
Tad?
Oh, and Tad, why is Pre-Existing one of your favorite films? I'm just kidding.
I do love Pre-Existing. My wife was asking what podcast are you doing tonight, because I am on a lot of podcasts, and I said, Kevin, you know, he did Pre-Existing, you know, the one where the guy brings, you know, the zombie, his wife's a zombie, and she's like, oh yeah, you know, because she watches all the films and helps judge too. So your film did get brought up as I'm coming into this, but I would say
awesome.
My favorite film of all time is John Carpenter's Halloween. Okay. That one, as a teenager, like changed how I looked at film, because I grew up with an older brother who watched a lot of 80s slashers, and I just was fed those a lot and loved them. But when I watched that, I was like, oh, this is done in an artful, tasteful way. Who made this? And then I started, you know, John Carpenter, going down the John Carpenter rabbit hole, and that sort of got me into more filmmaking more so than just movie watching. You know, I wanted to know everything about how this movie was made. So that one's sort of the granddaddy. I give that one all the props for getting me into actual film. But as far as recently, we were lucky enough to see Everything Everywhere All at Once at Film Scene, a theater in Iowa City, with Sun Lux, the band that did the score.
Oh, really?
They happened to be playing a show the next night in the same city, and they said, hey, you guys should come over. And they did a Q&A after it was like opening night. They did a Q&A, and then they sat right next to us the whole movie. And I had no idea what I was in for. Of course, I loved Swiss Army Man, but Everything Everywhere All at Once absolutely blew my mind. Again, sort of like Bill did with The Whale, I just sort of sat in my chair afterwards, and I'm like, what did I just see? Mm-hmm. and seeing it with a packed theater with the group that did the score is just an unforgettable experience.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Kevin, you're not getting off of
I
this.
thought we talked about this on the
Yeah,
previous
really.
podcast. Well, I was just going to mention though, Swiss Army Man. That's kind of a sticking point in my history because my wife had me pick movies 3 nights in a row, and I picked Swiss Army Man, Killing of a Sacred Deer, and I don't remember what the third one was. It was along the same lines, and she said you're no longer allowed to pick movies. So,
This Army Man tattoo on her arm.
You're kidding me.
Oh, man.
No, she has Daniel Radcliffe's legs coming out of a life preserver, and it's like a fart's coming out. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's the best. That's the best scene. Yep. That's funny.
What? Oh, mine?
Yes.
I thought we already discussed this on a previous podcast. Mine is Star Wars. Is my number one. That's the original Star Wars. Saw it back in '77 or whatever. Saw it 8 times in 7 days. So, let's see, and then
Empire's better.
Agreed.
No, I love Empire too, but
I love
the
them all.
original holds a special place in my heart just because seen it in the theater. Let's see. My second one is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Coen Brothers. And let's see. Third one rotates all the time. Last week it was The Greatest Showman.
Mhm.
But let's see. I just want to
That film's on a frequent repeat in our house. I'm surrounded by people that love musicals, so it's like Greatest Showman, Newsies. We're all the time.
I'm just looking here. It looks like we're having some technical issues too. Tad may have stopped recording there, but
Oh crap.
we may have lost Tad on the recording. Third one. I'm probably going to stick with Greatest Showman. So, Mike?
Star Wars, the first one, of course. The Princess Bride. And just because I watched it last night, The Quiet Man with John Wayne.
Oh, your
Yeah.
third
there you
one is
go.
just like whatever you watched last.
I know. I always
Can I
have
have
one and
to- wait.
2 is all usually Star Wars and The Princess Bride, and then number 3 is usually what I watched the previous week.
Back up though. I need to change my list because I forgot about the searchers.
You're,
Okay.
So
We already-
mentioned-
we already
now I
have it in
remember-
stone.
Yeah.
Sorry. You had to have it in by the
Rub it out.
deadline. We can't change it now.
Funny.
You know, although I think I'm going to change my third one.
Oh, now what?
Because we saw it the other night. If we're going to go with the last movie we saw, The
Well,
Rock.
that's just how I do it. You don't have to.
Well.
You don't have to copy me, copier.
I'm not copying you. The Rock. With, yes, Nicolas Cage.
Okay.
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery. I
Sean
mean,
Connery.
yeah.
So,
Sean Connery.
anyway, do you gentlemen have any questions for each other that you'd like to ask while you're still on here?
Yeah, here I have one. Right now I'm working on redoing our website for the first time in forever. And I just was looking at the Flatwater Film Festival's website, and I actually looked at the Twin Cities also. Both of you guys have great, modern, responsive websites. And I'm just wondering, did you go to... do you have somebody in-house that's doing that? Did you go to a developer?
So part of having an incredible team is having an incredible person who can do website and tech stuff. And we've got one of the absolute best guys that does all of our tech, all of our websites, and the marketing stuff. He does an incredible job, and we are very grateful to have him.
We had an organization a number of years ago that did that website for us, and when we expanded our staff to a full-time marketing director, she now has taken over the website. She's also does really great with graphics. So that's how it looks so good, because you get the right people doing it.
Okay. We're just dealing with some technical issues.
Yeah, we got a technical right now.
But, gentlemen, we'd like to...
Just keep us informed. Just keep us informed of the process.
Really.
See, now you know what it's like to be a festival person. In fact, I never used to pray a lot until you start running a festival, and every time the lights go down and a movie is supposed to play, and there's Bo Bridges, and somebody sitting in the audience just like, oh, please have this movie play. Anyway.
Well, we'd like to thank everybody for coming on this first roundtable on our podcast, the Film Festival one, and a lot of great information that I think filmmakers out there are going to find very valuable. And I know already I am never starting up a film festival. Nope, not me.
Nope.
You tend to, when you start a festival, you tend to get a big bullseye on your back.
Yeah.
It's like people love you, but then they don't. You just have to have a deep skin, thick skin about it all, and remind yourself that you're doing the best you can, and remind your people you're making art, and not everyone's going to like it, or everybody has different opinions, and a lot of it is subjective. So celebrate. It's time to celebrate.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah. Well,
thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you once again, and
thank you
thank
so
you
much.
guys.
Thank you, Kevin. It's been a pleasure.